What keeps you going? Where do you get your motivation? Whether you just want to be the best you can be or the best there ever was, we're here to keep you inspired. Conversations with today's top fitness influencers, coaches, athletes, and bodybuilding professionals. This is Inspired Fitness. Here's your host, Sean Feuderer.
Welcome to the Inspired Fitness Podcast. This episode is sponsored by Flexogenics. Every year, thousands of people undergo unnecessary joint and knee surgeries. Flexogenics was created to offer the very best in non-surgical solutions that allow you to get back to doing the activities you love. Before deciding on surgery, schedule a consultation and explore non-surgical options. I have personal experience with Flexogenics to treat osteoarthritis and tendon damage. I can confidently endorse their hyaluronic acid and PRP solutions. Welcome back to another episode of the Inspired Fitness Podcast. I'm joined today by my co-host, IFBB Pro, Kimberly Helm, along with our very special guest, 2019 PCA Welsh Figure Champion, Monika Szpakowicz. You can find Monika on Instagram using @Monika, spelled Monikija. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
And Monika, thank you for joining. This should be so fun.
Yes. I'm really looking forward to that.
So Monika, why don't we start, just you tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
I have been competed since, I don't know, it has been like 12 or 14 years, but I have like big gaps in between. And first year of my competition was mainly bikinis. And only in 2019, I have moved to figure. And that was my first figure competition, in which I realized that I was probably still a little bit too small. So I have decided to take a few years off and focus on growing, but actually I'm not really like a fan of massive big off season. So I was going through this process quite slowly and decided that probably next year it's going to be the time for me to go back on the stage if I'm happy with the outcome, which I hope I will.
And this is in the PCA Federation, correct?
No, I'm actually gonna compete in Two Bros Pro in next year. Yes.
Okay.
I might also do some PCA. I'm not sure yet. It's like I'm planning to do 4 or 5 competition coming next year, so possibly PCA as well.
Oh, that's quite a bit. Are you planning on those competitions being close together?
Yes, I mean I think I'm gonna start probably in around March, April, and then probably continue to September, October, depending on how I go and how.
So you're gonna have a long season.
Well, yeah, I'm planning to have a long season. I'm planning to have a good season. So yes.
Monika, you've said you've been in the fitness game for many years now, and as I understand it, you're actually formally educated in sports and fitness.
Yes. I done my level 2 and level 3 for 14 years ago, and since then I have done a lot of different courses related to nutrition, performance, stress management, and nutrition performance specifically for obesity and different styles. I have also prepared few different people for competition photo shoots and like that. So it's been a very long journey for me, but there is a lot of passion. And obviously when you're passionate, you just educate. Just because I always feel like I don't know enough, like I could know more and try to take lessons from mistakes I've done in the past and make sure that my clients never do them themselves, right? Because it's a very demanding sport and it's a lot of sacrifices, and we often, I think, go a little bit too far in terms of expectation from our bodies. I think that's the main thing I have learned through the years.
It's a good lesson to learn because we do tend to push the limits. So you've been competing, you're formally educated, and you've actually done this in 3 different countries.
I competed only in UK, to be honest. I lived in Australia for 2 years and I work over there, but all my qualification and experience pretty much come from UK. To be fair, I cannot even translate this into Polish. I never study anything related to fitness. I actually have master's degree from Poland, which is a little bit more into social rehab and psychology, which I found it really, really helpful working with clients as well.
I imagine you did. Tim and I often talk about the mental health aspects of fitness. How do you find what you're doing with clients affects them from a mental health perspective?
I think there are different stages, right? I think at the beginning, the main problem is for people to having enough self-belief and knowing that they can do it really well. I often with people when they're thinking like it's such a long journey and so demanding and everything that it's a little bit overwhelming. And it's very important to like actually break this down into small goals and small steps and make them feel like they can accomplish. And once they accomplish one step by the other, they feel a little bit more motivated and actually believing in themselves. But I think often people, when they're in the process, they go into the stage, and I have done this myself and a lot of my friends who have competed, that they losing a little bit, like they get in very sucked into this lifestyle, like they actually not having anything outside. They often limit the social life and group of friends, and they don't have any other interest, and everything is just surrounded by training and diet. So I think it's very important to make sure that you're having a balance in this everything. And that's probably the most important and most difficult aspect of that.
I certainly agree. I mean, Kim, what are your thoughts?
I like that you're bringing that out as an important factor, because I agree with you. Actually, I'm a fan of believing that it's good to have more than one hobby if you're doing this as a hobby, regardless of what it is, whether what you do is bodybuilding or another different type of hobby. I think it's good to have more than one thing. For me, for instance, I'm a very active person. I like to do a lot of things, but it also puts a lot of demand on my body. And so I've been trying to balance that recently. I've started playing with more into like pottery and things of that nature, something where I have a hobby that's not physically demanding as much as some of the other activities that I have. And it gives me a different way to utilize, something fun and a different skill set without it being as taxing. And I think having a good balance, I throw that out there as an example, but there's so many different things that can be done. And I know a lot of people who use meditation and yoga and different things of that nature as well. What have you found works well for you? Do you find that you stick with one thing on a regular basis, or do you find that you change what that is?
I needed to put a lot of work into actually starting to do less, because I used to train 6 times a week, and I used to do cardio in the mornings and weights in the evening and walk a lot in the meantime. And if I wasn't working or training, I was feeling really guilty. I was like feeling like I'm not being productive enough. And funny enough, I really changed the reason why I changed my approach is because I developed a lot of problems with my gut, which I found out that was related to high levels of stress. And then the doctors helped me, and I have done a lot of researches in terms of actually paying more attention to rest and recover. And only when I started resting, I was like, I didn't realize I was so tired, because you're living in this high energy, on this high adrenaline constantly, and you don't even recognize that you're being tired. You think like it's fine. It's like I can do it, everything. I could not. I remember when I started doing meditation and things like that, I could not sit for 50 minutes with closed eye, because I was like, oh my God, I should do this, I should do that. And slowly, gradually, I have completely removed cardio, for example, from my life for the last few years, and I replaced it with a lot of walks in nature, especially. So I get pretty much addicted to that at the moment, but I find it way better for me. I'm really trying to, exactly like you said, I'm really trying to have some different hobbies outside. I spend more times with friends and going to movies, and I still have to work a lot on this.
Yeah.
But I think you see, especially if you run your own business and you're trying to learn and you're trying to progress, but you're also trying to, keep your Instagram going and record everything and making sure that you have content. So it's a lot. But I for example, meditate every evening and go I do like a cold shower in the morning, and then I go for 30 minutes walk outside, and I'm trying not to touch my phone until all of that is complete. So I'm trying really but I think, teaching actually people balance, it's really, really difficult, especially these days. Like I live in London and I work with people who work horrendous amount of time, like 14, 16 hours. And then, they say to me that I really don't have energy or time to go to the gym because
Yeah, I mean, that's a shame when your excuse is that you don't have time, right? I think you make time for the things that are important to you.
Yeah, but I think also, it's actually making sure that everything is either is your work or either is your training. Like the human body only can take it certain amount of times, and it's really what I'm teaching people and trying people to teach. Less is even more, because if you do less, you actually do this with better quality, right? You are way more productive, and you have way better outcome and well better results, right? But it
Right.
takes a lot for some people to convince them. But I always try to, sort of bring this approach, like, let's try it for 2 weeks and let's see how you feel it. People always come to me and it's like, yes, that's actually what is better. But once we find out that something working for us, we often believe this is the only way, right? So when I used to train 6 times a week and I do cardio on top of it, and I used to think this is the only way I'm gonna stay in shape. Like, how they telling me to train 4 times a week? It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work for me. Maybe work for them, but it's not gonna work for me. So it's really hard to believe it, that sometimes actually when you put more attention into resting, recovering, sleeping, and actually staying calm and try to read maybe, or try to educate yourself in a different direction, and learn other things. This is actually when your body start to reward you.
Yes. And when you see progress from the way you're doing it, you don't want to change it because
Yes.
you're seeing progress from it, right? So it's scary to change it in case you digress. I think it's very interesting. If I think back in the bodybuilding world and just, seeing the old school bodybuilders, back in the days of like Arnold Schwarzenegger and different
Yeah.
folks, 10 years ago, even it used to be, go to the gym every single day, do it for hours a day. It was really like
Yeah.
you had to obsess over it and, exaggerate it greatly. It was the main focus of your day-to-day life. And I'm finding now that there are so many studies that are coming out now where people are exploring the ideas of what rest and recovery can do. And does it make a difference to get 6 hours of sleep versus 8 hours plus,
Mm,
of sleep, and how your body can recover? And there's a lot more folks out there who are now supporting the idea of I can get my workouts in 4 days and get
yeah.
8 to 9 hours of sleep a night, and I have just as much success, if not more, and I'm a little happier with the results as
Yes,
well.
I agree with you. I would say exactly the same. It's only the last couple of years where I really changed my approach. And I actually realized, like, when I train 4, maybe sometimes 5 times a week, but mainly 4, I actually get better results. And I'm really looking forward to this training. I'm really way motivated. Like, I'm missing the gym. I want to be there. When often before I used to be like, I have situation preparing for competition when I used to cry.
Right.
I entered the gym and I cry because I'm so tired. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, and I just want to go back to bed and eat and sleep. And I'm really happy. Like, a lot of people now talks about this, and changing the approach that the gym session shouldn't last 3 hours, and then you really get results training for 45 minutes, 1 hour. Like, I really think for average person, 3 sessions a week, 45 minutes is it's enough. It's
Yeah.
enough to get great results.
Yeah, and I do think it's relevant to what your goals are, right? It depends on if you're
Of
doing it
course.
for of course, right? We have to adjust it for if you're,
Hmm.
if you're a weight loss client, or if you're trying to get on stage to compete, and what that looks like. And at pro levels, obviously, in any sport at pro level, you're going to put a much more demand on your body. You do have to obsess more over what you're doing. It does have
Hmm.
to be a main focus, but there is always a healthier way that you can go about it for you. And a lot of that discovery, it sounds like you are helping your clients find out what works best for them, for each person
Yeah.
that you work with, right?
Like, I always say, if I have a client that his aim is, for example, to do a photo shoot in 8 weeks, there is somebody comes to me and he wants to compete. I'm being very, very realistic, right? Like, I don't
Sure.
like short-term preparation. Like, 8 weeks, I don't think is for anybody enough time to step on stage and do photo shoots. So I'm choosing a longer time approach, like 16 weeks or even 20, and then having little gap for rest and maintenance week or so in the middle, to making sure that you actually recovering properly. If there are people who also have limited time, I also believe that if you want to push your body for short amount of time, let's say 8 weeks or 10 weeks, is doable, but you have to remember this is not something that you can do it as a lifestyle. This is not something that's going to be sustainable. This is something that is going to get you from point A to B,
Right.
but then you still have to put a lot of work to maintain this look, and you have to change and make this as your lifestyle a little bit more sustainable. So I always try to educate people on different approaches, because, like you said, stepping on the stage is another level, right? This is like you pushing your body to the limit. Nobody wants to be there. Like you
Right.
lean like 2% body fat, and but it's only for certain amount of time. And we often taking care of ourselves off season a lot to make sure that we are ready to push the body there.
That's a very good point. And I really like what you said when your preference is to have a longer preparation time to do it in a healthier manner.
Just to make sure, like it's often like people come to you and they will give you, very short amount of time. And I always say, just be honest, it's doable, but it's not healthy.
Right.
It's not the way I like to do it, right?
Healthy approach is always the best approach. Monika, you're spending a lot of time training yourself. What is the most important aspect of training for you?
The most important aspect, I think, at the moment is like I really know what I'm doing. I really know what works for me, and I really know when to stop when my body doesn't want to do it anymore. So it's pretty much knowing your own limits, but also, having some certain standards for you and knowing which direction you're going and realizing like what your weak points are and focusing on this, So you have to challenge yourself and you have to step outside your comfort zone quite a lot, right? You have to do things that you not necessarily like to do, but things that they needed for you to reach certain standards.
So, Kim, this is an evolving theme that we hear from athletes all over the place, right?
It is.
That results and progress come from discomfort, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone.
I love this topic of conversation because it's different for so many people on what that means and what level of discomfort you have and how much you're willing to undergo and what that looks like is different for each person. And it's for Monika. So right now, are you in training 4 days a week or are you doing something a little bit different? Are you doing one a day, 4 days a week?
I just had a very busy month. I did 3 photo shoots in 1 month, right?
Oh, wow.
So that was really, really demanding. On my body. So at the moment I'm on holidays. So I decided to have a couple of weeks when I'm focusing a little bit more on rest and recovery, but I'm still training. So I'm trying to go to the gym 4 times a week and I'm doing 2 upper, 2 lower. Pretty much this is it. And only just focusing on walking, but mainly really focusing on sleeping and recovering, right? Because my body was battered after this 1 month, what I have done. However, I possibly gonna have another photo shoot in the end of September. So I'm trying to sort of like, recover a little bit, but not to lose too much of so if I want to get ready in photo shoot, I probably can do something like 2-3 weeks dieting but really the main concept for me is now that from October I'm gonna go to off season, but it's not like off season old bodybuilder style gaining 10-15 kilos. It's probably gonna be around 5 kilos on top of where I'm at the moment and just working slowly towards my competition for next year.
And just so for the folks who are listening, can you explain a little bit? So I'm familiar with what goes into the preparation for a photo shoot and what that might mean, as an athlete. And I'm assuming these are photo shoots where it's more of like a fitness swimsuit style photo shoot. Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about what your preparation for a photo shoot looks like compared to, for example, preparing to go into a bodybuilding competition for you?
Yeah, so definitely when I'm preparing for photo shoot, I'm going for a little bit of softer look, then I will go on stage. So I'm not pushing my body to the limit that I would go like 6% body fat or something like that. I'm most likely stopping by around 10% body fat, which is for me still sort of like comfortable in a way. I mean, it's probably when I did the last month, I think I did prep in 10 weeks. It only was the last week when I felt really tired and when I really, really have enough. But other than that, my calories still in the end of the preparation was not that low like they go in, like when you're preparing for stage, your calories in the end can be reaching for women around 1,000 calories. And let's be honest in this, and you're training on top of it and you're doing cardio and you're really trying to get as dry, as filled, as reduce the body fat to minimum. When a photo shoot, I think is like good practice. I always say it's a good practice for people who thinking about competing, right? Because very often they don't realize how the process really looks like. This is like another level of mental and physical exhaustion, right? Like, so I said, maybe do a photo shoot first, which is like, like little bit entrance, little bit easier approach. And then you see if you actually are enjoying the process and if you actually can do it. But the, doesn't matter if it's photo shoots for me or something. I always take it really seriously because like for me, like I haven't competed for 3 or 4 years, so it's like sort of like practice. And so every year I do a photo shoot to make sure that I don't get out of that. And you, as probably know, every prep is different.
Yes.
Every prep
Yes.
is different. Our body changes, the circumstances changes, and your work is different. Your lifestyle is different at every time. So you don't really know how it's gonna be. But I obviously, hopefully, I like to think that everyone is smarter. The next time that you're doing it, you know what works and what doesn't. And another thing which I think is very important is also making sure that you have somebody professionally like supervisor and you even if you
Absolutely.
don't know the most experienced, you still need person from outside.
Totally agree. Yep.
Yep. That outside set of eyes kind of make sure
Yeah.
you stay on plan, that you're not going off the rails, that you're doing it in a safe manner. Absolutely agree. So everything that you just described, whether it's for photo shoots or for stage, it all revolves around managing your nutrition, right?
Yeah.
Managing nutrition can be a very tricky and difficult thing. So not just for you as a competitor, but for you as a coach, when you're training other people, not only can it be tricky, but it's a very emotional thing, right? It's
Yes,
rife with
definitely.
setbacks and disappointment and so forth. How do you not only coach yourself through those, but
Hmm.
coach your clients through those set points and setbacks and disappointments around their progress, particularly with nutrition?
Yeah, I think when it comes to nutrition, I think there is always like two things that I found the most challenging. Number one, people sticking to something that they have done in the past, 20 years ago, and that worked for me, or I only can lose weight if I remove carbs completely, and this is like approach that I probably hate the most, right? Like I do believe that all food groups exist for a reason and all they are important. So I don't like this sort of like really a lot of limitation. So sometimes people having certain beliefs, it's difficult to take them out of this and asking them to actually try new approach. So that would be probably number one. And another thing which is very difficult and it requires a lot of coaching is the mental aspect, which is like emotions related to eating. Like so to find out why people having problems with the diet is for me often the most important thing to actually get into the root of the problem, and it's often related to a lot of different things. Sometimes there are things from childhood, sometimes there are things from relationship. It's a very, very, very deep subject, and I would say it's very personal. And to make sure that we actually have a like good relationship with the person, so they can open up and speak to us. It is a lot of a therapy which we do with clients. Really.
Kim, this is another evolving theme
Yes.
across athletes, coaches, and trainers, right? It's to connect with your clients on a personal level, understand their circumstances, understand their life outside of the gym, and the factors that are going to impact them: stress, anxiety,
Mm.
depression, all important things. So, for both of you as fitness trainers, how do you coach people through that?
It's different for every person. It really
Yeah.
depends on, and I know that sounds like the canned generic answer to give. That's the easy way out. But really and truly, the way that you coach it is that you have to understand where that person is coming from and you have to understand where their head is at. What kind of space are they in? Are they more sensitive to certain conversations that have to do with food? Do they have an eating disorder background? A
Yeah.
lot of times, and we see it a lot, whether it's bodybuilding competition competitors or even in everyday life, a lot of folks suffer from either not eating or overeating when it comes to associating that with their emotions and what to do. And
Yes.
so, understanding and you can change something. And we've, to your point, Sean, we've seen this and we've talked to a lot of folks and we've seen the same theme where it's, you can do the same thing over and over. And depending on what your environment is or what your circumstances are, the outcome can change. Even though you do everything exactly the same way in prep, let's say, you train the same, you eat the same foods, and you're not getting the same results because maybe you have more stress. Maybe you have more things that are going on right now that are impacting your body, and your body is just doing it a different way. Or sometimes your body says, nope, not today. It's not going to be the same.
Mm.
We need a little bit of extra care. Monika, it sounds like you've
Yeah.
had some of that experience as well.
Yeah, I think, it's very difficult for a lot of people, and it takes a lot of practice to be very intuitive with your own body, actually, and making sure that you actually understanding, like, if people have emotional eating, and a lot of people does, it's actually asking them, and they have to ask themselves where this is coming from, right? Is that solution that this is how you're dealing with your emotion, this is how you're dealing with your stress, this is like compensation, in this is like a reward, what is it actually for you mean, and why you actually doing this, and it's like, I think once you get people to get ready to answer the question, and they actually start thinking about it, because very often people don't think about it. They think, oh, I'm
Right.
always like that when I'm stressed or something like that, but why are you like that? And like I said, getting getting in tune with your own body, and actually thinking like, why I'm like that. Yeah, also, okay, so for example, I'm looking for food because I'm tired, I have been out all day and I haven't had a proper meal. And another aspect of this is like, people have tendency to go to extremes, right? So
Sure.
they thinking like, oh, I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna have a lot today, and tomorrow I'm just not gonna eat. Like,
Right.
let's do it
Right.
this way, right? And then they don't eat it the next day, and they starving. The body is like completely drained and things like that. So it's leading them again to binging, and after binging they feel guilty, and it's like ping pong game all the time. So actually stopping them and making sure that they understand what they're doing and what leads them to this sort of behavior. This is like the most important part of coaching. And
Yeah.
very often, once you open the door, they start to come to you with the answers themselves. And it's like, why I never thought about this like through all my life? Why I never, pay attention to this? This is like, and this is the best part of the prep, which I love
Yeah.
having with clients, when they actually starting to question themselves and they starting answering the question. And you are just being there as a coach outside to try to like bring this out and sort of organize and make everything a little bit of sense and explanation.
I totally agree with you. And I really like that you're highlighting that as one of the most important values. And it is true. It is so great to see, when the person that you're working with makes that
Mhm.
realization, when they understand and it comes to fruition for them, where they start to understand the bigger picture and what to look for. So it's
Mhm.
not just about getting lean to get on stage. It's so much more than that. I think you made a really good point about asking that question, why are you doing this? What are
Mhm.
you trying to get from this experience? And there's some people who might say, I don't have a good relationship with food, and I want to be able to restrict my intake, or control my intake of food better, so that's why I
Mhm.
want to do this. So, and it can be a slippery slope. It can be very tricky. So,
Yeah.
you have to make sure that when you're about to put your body through something, like for instance, with competing in bodybuilding, when you're about to put your body through something that's very regimented, you have to remember that there is, post competition, after the competition, there is also a reverse to get back to
Yeah.
normal life, right? That is
Yeah.
very, very impactful. And it's so all the preparation that you do going into it, there's just as much preparation to get back to
Yeah.
a
Exactly.
normal
Yeah.
standard and normal living.
And that's a very important part, Kim, because I think people have to realize that the after sort of care, is very important. Like, there is the way of stepping out and coming back to normal eating. It has to be very supervised, and it has to be looked after as well, right? Because
Right.
often people think like, oh, I have achieved this, and so now I can just go and eat. And this is like, they don't realize that your body actually at this stage, because of the changes what's happening in gremlin, leptin, and all different hormones, your body wants to be comfortable. Your body wants to immediately go back to the comfort zone. So your body is gonna make you eat. So it's like, this is another part of the process to make sure that you're not gonna hurt yourself on the journey out, and you're not gonna have a bad relation. Because I remember after my first competition, I went to Brazil for holidays, and I gained 9 kilos in 3 weeks, because I thought
Yeah.
I worked so hard. I have this body. I can now eat anything I want, and it's not gonna happen. And I pretty much look like before and after between my holidays.
And it's scary when it happens, because I mean,
Yeah,
I think most people have gone through that, and just the water weight alone,
yeah.
makes a huge difference, and it can be very unhealthy. It can be very dangerous if you take it to the extreme, and that's why.
This is the point that a lot of people can actually go problems with in having eating disorders. Let's be
Yes.
honest about that, right?
Yes. I don't want to highlight bodybuilding, alone in this category. It's with any life situation.
Yeah,
You know,
I work with dancers, and there was the same situation,
yeah,
like, so I know it's like very related. Anytime that you put your body to extreme, your body gonna want to go back to the comfort zone as
exactly.
quickly as possible, right?
Monika, nutrition I know is a topic that is super important to you, and doing it in a sustainable way. Crash diet and summer body programs, and the fact that they're not healthy for you, they're not
Mhm.
sustainable. Let's spend a little bit more time on nutrition. Like, what are your thoughts about what should people look for when they see these narratives and these stories, these social media posts about these 6-week diet or get your dream body in 90 days? Or what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is like, unfortunately, a lot of people doesn't want to listen to this, because I have many of people messaging me like, what your macros are, or how much calories are it, and I'm like, you know what, this is really not relevant to you at all. It's like, I can send you my training program, and I can send you exactly. It doesn't mean you're gonna get the same results as I have. And people really don't want to hear this, right? People really don't want to hear this, that this has to be really proper, customized and personalized process for everybody. It's like really so many aspects of it. Like, what have you done in your past? What is your activity level? What is your nutrition preferences? What is your exercise history? It's all of that really matters, and that's gonna only this can lead me to be able to give anybody macronutrition breakdown or calories, or something like that. So it's not a just process that somebody send me his metrics and I'm like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. Sometimes it takes 2-3 weeks of adjustment program with the clients, where we just try and we see what works, what it doesn't, and like we said previously, I can train the same client. Sometimes I prepare clients C by you for different like photo shoots, and we have to choose different approaches, because your body is also very adjustable. Your body learns, and your body is clever. Your body recognizes what you have done in the past, and sometimes you have to play around a lot. The more you are in this game, you know this game for sure, right? Like, the more you're in this game, the more you have to keep playing around to make sure
Yes.
that you're gonna get good results.
Yes, the body is so smart. It adapts, it adjusts, so you have to
Yes.
constantly stay on top of it. It's not once you find a solution, it's not a solution that will work forever.
Don't
And
I know?
especially with people who have dieting for a little bit, and people who have get like stage ready or photo shoot ready, right? Sometimes actually, surprisingly, it's more, it's better. Sometimes you have to actually do the opposite. You getting the calories down and nothing is working, and then suddenly you bring calories up and things start working, right? Every person is so different. Everybody is so different.
You both have brought up good points, right? That things that are working right now may not be the things that work
In the future.
down the
Yeah.
road in the future, right? Your circumstances are going to change, your environment's going to change, your mood's going to change, your stress level's going to change, and so forth. So, and these create plateaus in your training and your progress. How do you deal with those plateaus in your personal training, and then how do you coach your clients through those?
Well, I had an interesting situation last time with one of my clients, that I convinced her initially, first of all, to get into off season, to put her on Star Plus, and she was like, "I have never done this," and she was very afraid. And it took us, I think, 4 or 5 weeks for her to actually the scale even move up. I was like adding the food and adding the food and adding the food. I was like, it just signed for me that your body has been starving for a really long time, and one now I told you to do less training and eat more, it's like your body is finally like, "Whew, relax," right? And then we start doing photo shoot preparation, and we are cutting the food, and she just stopped like completely, right? Like, I said to her, like, listen, we reached certain level of calories that I actually don't really want to go below, because I think it's like you only doing photo shoots, so there is no point for such a sacrifices. So what I started to do, I did something what I like doing it myself. So pretty much like going with calories and macros very much upside down, depending on the day, depending on activity levels, and things start shifting again very much so. So I think generally I like creating diets around people's schedules because, obviously, if you're sitting in the office for whole day and you're not moving, you're not going to eat the same amount of calories that you actually went to the gym and you have a 1 hour massive flex session, and after that you walk again, right? It's like completely different and energy expenditure for different days. So that will be probably my approach. Just looking. And sometimes another thing I think is very important to take a break. If you've been dieting for 6-8 weeks, very very harsh. Sometimes actually move into maintenance for a week and let the body relax and let the hormones reset. It's a good approach.
Yeah, and Sean, you've probably seen this with TJ, right? With your son, where because he started working a manual labor job, it changed when he could eat and how he could eat and how much he could eat, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, your work environment has a tremendous impact
Massive
on the
impact,
types of
yeah.
nutrition that you need. Like, so my routine right now, I'm at a desk for 8 hours a day. I get up at 5 a.m. every morning and I go to the gym first thing. So I'm working out. I'm working out for muscle fatigue on an empty stomach, which is probably not the most advisable thing to do for muscle growth, but that's when it fits into my routine.
And that's the most important thing, yeah.
But then I come home and I manage my nutrition intake, right? I manage it by macros. So I'm hitting a certain protein goal, a certain fat goal. I probably overdo it on the carbs just a little bit, right? Because I'm going for convenience foods most of the time, right? If there's chicken and broccoli and rice prepped or, ground beef cooked, that's what I default to, or I'll eat tuna out of a can. But if none of that is readily available, there's some protein chips in the pantry or, there's a protein shake available but I was telling Kim earlier, I'm making better choices on what I eat now because I'm motivated by fear. I'm potentially going to be on video with Kim and other professional bodybuilders in the near future, and I need to look a little bit better than I do.
Yeah, because you have a goal, right? You have a certain goal. And this is I think this is always the most important thing of every journey, right? Like that's why I like my clients to set up photo shoot or something like give me specific goal, give me specific date, let's work towards something. Because otherwise you say, no, I would like to become a little bit fitter. Like, okay, yes, but people always say, oh, I can do this next month or I can do this, later on. Like this is like putting time frames into things and then working schedule around that. Like this is probably something that I would advise.
The point of this is the nutrition has to match the goal, right?
Yes, definitely. But I think also like there's also a time of the year or sometimes in your life that actually is good to have flexibility and just let the body relax and let you, obviously in a healthy manners, right? Like keeping everything like you're not gonna go like 10 kilos overweight or something like that. But sometimes having these 2-3 extra kilo and actually enjoying your food, if you have been strict with yourself for years, is probably advisable, I would say.
Sean smiles. He likes that answer.
Hey, I can be pretty strict when I want to be, but
Yeah.
I can be extremely loose on the diet, particularly during the holidays.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The challenge for me is the mental discipline and consistency that it takes. I have peaks and valleys in my dedication and my commitment to nutrition. So if I want to get really lean, I can get really lean, but it's only going to last for a few months.
But this is actually the very important topic, right? Because if I have people that are like on the top of their career and the most important thing for them is actually to be successful in the job and that's going to last a year or two, I just want them to be healthy and I just want the body to focus on this, that the body is working in the best possible way. So we're supporting, the brain function and everything. I'm not going to ask them to go in a calories deficit. Definitely not.
I think that's a very relevant point that you're making. And it's, the human body is meant for some variety. It's not meant to, always be under strict discipline with the same thing day in, day out. You have to give it some opportunity to flex. Just like, you have to adjust your workout routines, as you go. You have to adjust your nutrition as you go. Whatever you do, even with your habits, even with how you handle things in life, your body will get comfortable with repetition, with whatever it is. Yeah. And so, that's really important. I think that's a really good point that you're making.
I really think that 70% of our life, if not even a little bit more, we're supposed to be living in maintenance. And for people actually who are looking forward to improve the physical appearance in terms of gaining muscle, gaining strength and things like that, they're actually supposed to live in surplus for majority of time, to making sure that the body have the extra fuel to grow, to recover, to improve, right? Like
Sure.
we need
Sure.
the extra. We need the extra for that. The main thing that I'm always stressing, like the time in deficit supposed to be really limited to weeks, maybe a few months in a year, but majority of time is supposed to keep the body in a
Yes.
happy place.
Yes, that's very true. I like that.
I need to get my body into a happy place.
Well, if you have been too long for in a happy place, then you have to go to a little bit uncomfortable place.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Making sure that you feel in you get in all of the feelings, right? That is a balance of.
Just to give you an idea, I'm 6'1", right? I weighed in this morning at 190 pounds, which is about 86 kilos. I'm at about somewhere between 15 and 18% body fat at the moment. My goal is to get down to between 10 and 12 to be what I would consider beach body lean.
Yeah. How much time did you give yourself for that?
I don't know. When do we start recording? Kim?
So let's ask this question, Monica. How much time do you think that he would need to do that?
Well, everything depends for me will be like really like knowing a little bit more about his past,
Right.
what he have done, like previously, if he ever got his body to this certain level and what got him there, what he think it works for him. But I think, like I'm obviously against a very quick fix, but I do it sometimes to people. I'm not saying I'm not doing it. I'm just making them to, if somebody comes to me, is like, I have 6 weeks or 8
Sure.
weeks. They're often women preparing for weddings or things like that.
Sure.
They have this sort of approach. Then I'm like, okay, let's do it, but let's make sure that we're going to do this in the best way. And also, let's make sure that you're going to do the reverse diet afterwards, that we actually
Right.
going to get your health back. And I would push them, and I push them to very uncomfortable places. And sometimes they like it actually, because they get impressed on. It's good sometimes to push yourself somewhere to know that you can.
Yeah, and as long as you understand, most
The
things
process.
are doable.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
everything has a pro and a con, right? So most things are
Yeah.
doable, but there will be ramifications. And the more extreme you go, the more aggressive you go, the more
Yeah.
potential risk that there could be.
Like I said, it is sometimes like question of 6-8 weeks, which is done once in a year. Your body will forgive you. Your body will
Sure.
recover it and you go. But if somebody did this like 6 weeks very strict, and then like they going back to eating normally for 2 weeks, and it's like, oh my god, I'm getting fat, and they're getting back on the strict diet straight away. This happened a lot. This happened to me, because you get used to certain image of your body in the mirror, and anything like more than this, you start to think like, it's like, oh my god, I cannot live like that. So that's a very important process of understanding.
So, Monica, you're bringing some new things to the market for fitness and fitness clients. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I'm actually in the process of writing my lifestyle challenge, I want to call it, right? It's not really challenge. I mean, it's a challenge actually to make it. It's going to be 90 days when I want to focus actually on teaching people good habits that they can be sustainable and they can last them for years. Like I have done a lot of work in this with the past, especially this is focused mainly on people who are very active career wise to make sure that they still can get to good levels of fitness while they're working and when they're busy and when they're being busy. So it's going to be focusing around 3 main areas. It's going to be training, nutrition, and lifestyle changes. And each of the topic lifestyle is going to be the biggest part out of it, because I think if you don't manage your stress, if you don't manage your sleep, if you don't manage your alcohol consumption, the training and the nutrition is still going to be behind of the important things. So you very often have to start from the basics to actually go back to living as a human living, right? Because a lot of people, especially in the business, there are people who do 3,000 steps a day. People who very often change countries, they are jet lagged, they don't sleep. Then so managing just this to making sure that you living on the basics level of everything, that you slept, recover, and everything, and then adding a little bit of training and controlling somehow nutrition, teaching them about better choices and things like that. This is actually something that I'm the most passionate about, and it's like I think for a lot of people, this is going to be surprised because when they look on my Instagram and they're looking at my profile, they're thinking, I often hear, oh my God, you probably like level too high for me, like too advanced. But I actually really love helping, let's say, average people and and showing them this is possible. Like you can really look good. It doesn't matter like how much time you have, doesn't matter how much age is, but doesn't matter when you start in your journey, you can really do it.
Yeah, I love that.
That is fantastic. Monika, thank you for a very inspiring conversation today. It's been a real pleasure to talk with you. Both Kim and I can say we're excited to see you compete next year.
Yes, I'm very, very excited because, like I said, I put a couple of years of preparation into this, and like I try to really play the long game, and I still have a lot of work to do in my off season. But yeah, I'm really hoping that's going to be my year.
Good for you, and good for you for putting the time in to get the results you want before you get back on stage. That's amazing.
Yes.
I wish you the best.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It was really great opportunity to have this conversation, and I really enjoy always, like exchanging the knowledge and everything with people. It's really nice.
Absolutely. Yes, I love it. I love it. Thank you. We'll have to follow back up at some point and see how things are going.
Yes, definitely.
I was just thinking the same thing. Maybe closer to or just after a competition next year would be a great time.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Well, join us again next time for the Inspired Fitness Podcast. Until then, we'd like to wish you a healthy mind, a healthy body, and healthy habits. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to Inspired Fitness, leading you to a healthy mind, healthy body, and healthy habits. To stay inspired, visit us at inspiredfitness.net. That's INSPIRD.net. Until next time, stay inspired.